So it looks like there's a new character coming up for NIKKE here, Goddess of Victory. Nihilister, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not exactly sure. But it looks like it's going to be a new pilgrim. I think it's based off the story, kind of the later chapters. So that little heretic goodness. And, nothing wrong about the armor at all. It looks pretty nice, Got the, open chest area for, the cooling, because, Nick games produce a lot of heat, so you don't want them to overheat, so that's why this is kind of more exposed per se, but has all of the armor and everything everywhere else because still need that for protection and the guns and everything, of course. But yeah, this is the new character that's been revealed to us. Yeah, this is what she sounds like and looks like here.
Keep pestering me and see what happens.
Yeah, she's a she's the Dami mommy, the dragon mommy. Yeah, I like the whole aesthetic of the character. But they actually showed off more of it, kind of like a demonstration of like what the character will look like in game, like with the gameplay and everything.
There's nothing I despise more than Ford.
I mean, have to take a look at all of the motion there, of course. Yeah, look at the... Yeah, so she's a sniper character. And with her sniper, looks like she can pierce. Yeah, so it looks like she's good for, like, mobbing there. And also, like, an interesting note that somebody else pointed out in the comments is that they do show off the other character's icon, at least, the next new character down there, but we don't really get to see her there. But I don't know. It looks like this character might be good for like mobbing or bosses with mobs, because you're kind of hitting everything else nearby as well. And I kind of like this, the burst illustration there. But they actually also revealed the skills of what she's gonna have. So she's going to be a attacker type, and she's going to be burst 2. So kind of like Rupee or Guilty, I believe, as an attacker. But when I look at her stuff here, it looks like it's all selfish skills. She doesn't give anything to anybody else. She's pure DPS as a burst 2, which is kind of different. So for her first skill, Burning Shot, she activates it when attacking with full charge with a sniper, and she gets Pierce for that round, and the piercing radius is 50% for the 1 round as well. So just kind of want to full charge as many of her attacks as you can. So probably charge speed would be really good for this character if you can get it on other characters, like when you're full bursting or just like kind of as a passive. But also when she hits 2 or more enemies with that pierce, it does extra damage on top of it, which is really nice. And for her skill 2, which is an active, cooldown time of 10 seconds, she hits a number of enemies within a range, dealing just damage. Just damage. And then the first skill, every 20 seconds, Burning Scourge, affects enemies within the attack range for a set of damage, but also deals a burn, which I think is new for the first time. I think the only other character, yeah, that does it is Haran, as like her poison. So it's kind of like that, I guess, for sustain. Yeah, it's kind of like a burst to Haran. And then also when she uses her burst, gives her max ammo capacity, which is nice as well, since she doesn't have to reload when she uses her burst skill. So she is just really useful for, I think, on a sniper team, or trying to kill just like the tiny mobs, but while they're grouped up. So maybe good with that King of the Hill defensive mode is kind of like how I see it. Or maybe with bosses that have ads kind of just going around that you kind of want to hit both at the same time. But they revealed how you get her. She doesn't get pulled in like any banner. She's actually a liberation unit, which is kind of nice to get her for free, but there's a caveat to that, and that is the unlock requirements here. basically the unlock requirements are clear campaign stage 2031. So basically the entire story that we have now, you have to beat the final mission. So that really sucks. That really sucks. Basically, she's going to be not available for the majority of the players, unless if you're just already at the end game point. And you also need to complete one NIKKE's rehab in the first liberation. So you have to get like Guilty, Quincy, or Sin first, and then you can start getting her if you're at that part of the story. And a lot of people are upset because of those requirements. Yeah, clear stage 2031, just like, oh yeah, really? Really now? Yeah, people are upset. You know, you're still stuck at sync level 160. Or yeah, people wishing that she was on a banner instead, because Liberation just takes so long on top of it with those requirements. And just kind of like goes on and on of people like, it's like, oh my god, oh my god. But how does she kind of like stack up with the other characters? Like, despite this taking, you know, so long to get her, like, how does this actually stack up with everything else? I don't know. In my opinion, she isn't like top tier because she does not give anything to anybody else. She is a super selfish character, but I do feel like she has uses. Like, if you were building like a sniper team, I feel like she really fits in well. Yeah, so Nihilister you would put in as the burst 2, leader would be like burst 1, and then Maxwell, Alice, and Privity as the burst 3s. It's kind of hard to fit her into too many comps, unless her damage is just really good. But when you look at the other characters, like Rupee or Dala, their bonuses are just huge. And they also do massive damage against a single target, which more often than not, you want that. Like on a burst too, because Dala is just 734%. Way higher than, you know, the 158 and a little bit of burn damage over time. But yeah, she also gives attack bonus to other people, Dala does, and then this whole cooldown reduction system with more attack and crit rate. And then with Rupee, another good character, she also gives buffs to other characters. This one's specific to Iron, which is kind of like, eh. But she gives herself an attack buff, and it stacks. And then once that's stacked, she also gives attack to everybody and deals a bigger damage, like affecting all enemies within a certain range. So I just don't know if Nihilister is actually that good. But since she is a liberation unit, you can get her for free technically, but let's kind of compare her to the other liberations, since she is part of that, and you're going to be getting one liberation anyways. So right now Guilty is kind of like the top tier for like a shotgun team. So if you're going for like Gravedigger or something like that, because of this skill right here, which duplicates the damage of another ally and stacks it onto Guilty, so this lets her do massive damage. And then with this here, this one isn't that great because there isn't too many wind type allies that are good in the game at the moment. At least not any burst 3s, except for like Epinel, I think her name is. But that gives a little bit of an attack bonus and a stat count of buffs, which is nice. And then with her burst skill, she affects one enemy unit with the highest defense, which is a nice bit of damage, but the main part of that is when her thing is fully stacked, it reduces the defense of that significantly and deals additional damage. So I feel like with Nihilister, you're going to stack a lot of other support characters to include her in, and it kind of like removes from, like, if you're trying to focus on like Scarlet or Modernia or something like that, or both, because in all honesty, those are better DPS characters than trying to shoehorn in this burst 2 that's just straight DPS, at least in my opinion, based off what we can see for now. She isn't in the game yet, so this might change, just like they've done with other characters. They might buff it up a little bit or change it in some way, but as far as I can see, like, she's not going to be like top tier, like up here. I would say she's probably better than Sin, and maybe better than Quincy, kind of like depends on the scenario, but I don't think she's better and Guilty in terms of doing at least single target DPS. But that's not really Nihilister's focus anyways. And personally, I would rank Nihilister kind of like above these two, depending on the situation. But I don't know if I'd rank it higher than Guilty in terms of like usefulness. I don't know. Like, I feel like she could use some additional bonus to one of these abilities that affect more than just herself. Like maybe the skill 2 would give a little bit of something to some other ally or 2 allies maybe. Or instead of doing an additional attack bonus when you hit 2 or more enemies, it gives a bonus to like allies instead. I feel like that would be better, but maybe that would just be too broken if they did something like that. I feel like she will have a good energy gain back. Yeah, I guess so. Since she can pierce, yeah, for sure. But it definitely wouldn't be as good as like Senti or other grenade launcher or rocket launchers. But you could include other grenade launchers and rocket launchers on that team. Especially if you're, you know, stacking the bonuses of like charge speed or charge damage. I feel like it would be really useful. Like you could fit in Senti or Noise. Maybe not so much Senti, because that's like another burst too, but you could fit in Noise. As like the burst 1 if you wanted to, or like Rapunzel if you need a healer. But if you use Rapunzel, you'd have to use another burst 1 in place of like the burst 3s, which I guess you could do. You could probably switch out one of them. I don't know, probably Maxwell you'd switch out, and not Privity or Alice. Probably not. Let's see, was there anything else I want to say about this character? I don't know, she's definitely a mommy.